What's up, Taiwan? Good morning. I'm Erika Liu with 10 minutes of news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Russia's invasion of Ukraine has sparked an exodus of millions fleeing into neighboring countries. TaiwanPlus reporter Rick Glart was in the Polish town of Przemysl near the border with Ukraine. He spoke with residents there about fears of a spillover of the conflict from their besieged neighbor. And as he reports, for Taiwanese people in Poland, the invasion of Ukraine is a potent reminder of the threat posed by China to Taiwan.
This is Przemysl, a small town in southeastern Poland, just 14 kilometers from the border with Ukraine. It's become a major hub for refugees fleeing the war next door. But its residents are also coming to terms with the fact that this could be the next front line with Russia.
Ale boję się sytuacji i boję się tego, co może Putin jeszcze nawymyśleć. No jesteśmy przy granicy, a on się odgraża, że Przemyśl będzie, znaczy nie Przemyśl, ale w ogóle Polska, że Przemyśl jest najbliżej granicy, no to Przemyśl jest następny po Lwowie. Tego się boję.
Boimy się. Tutaj wyczuć takie po prostu napięcie, że coś się dzieje, że po prostu no wcześniej nigdy takiej ilości wojska ani służb ogólnie mundurowych nie widzieliśmy tutaj, dlatego jest to dla nas coś nowego i dla mnie osobiście wzbudza to dla mnie taki we mnie lekki niepokój, że jednak coś się dzieje, także.
The nearby border looms large over the town. This is the busiest of 8 border crossings between Ukraine and Poland. In the last few weeks, more than 2 million people have come into this country from its war-torn neighbour. Along with a massive humanitarian effort to support the influx of refugees, military operations have also swelled here. The US has deployed troops, equipment and surface-to-air missiles as the fighting in Ukraine edges closer to Poland, a NATO ally.
Reprezentuję służbę, która jest odpowiedzialna za bezpieczeństwo nie tylko Polski, ale obywateli Unii Europejskiej. W związku z tym, że jest to zewnętrzna granica Unii Europejskiej, my jako mundurowi musimy być przystosowani do działania w różnych sytuacjach. Ta sytuacja konkretna, z którą się teraz zmierzymy, nie ma precedensu w historii chociażby naszej służby.
Beyond Europe and its NATO allies, the Ukraine conflict has also prompted Taiwan, a country more than 8,000 kilometers away, to consider its own defences. Taiwan also has a belligerent neighbour. China claims the country as its own and regularly threatens to take it by force. Recently, Taiwan boosted military spending and revamped its training of reservists. And earlier this month, a show of force and combat readiness exercises on a Taiwanese island just off the coast of China. For Wang Wei-Chao, a Taiwanese expat living in the Polish capital, Warsaw, the war next door is a reminder of the real threat Taiwan faces.
In Taiwan, we have a big threat next to us. And the people always talking, no, it won't be a war. Why? It's already have such a peaceful life for so many years. How come it's a war? It will destroy everything, destroy the economics, destroy the civilians' life. So for me, it's also a big shock. Nothing is impossible in this world.
Watching the conflict unfold across the border, Wei was moved to take Ukrainian refugees into her home. One of them is Margarita, who took 7 trains and travelled 64 hours to flee Russian forces. The 21-year-old believes a nation's fate lies in its citizens' hands.
If you want to protect and defend yourselves, you definitely should do it, and the world will support you, because in nowadays, world stands for the kind side, not the devil side. If you want and if you show the world you are fighting, you are defending, you will get it.
Whether the world will come to its defence in the event of an attack from China is a question that hovers over Taiwan. But the Ukraine conflict has prompted a re-examination of the country's determination and ability to defend itself if it faced a similar fate. Rick Liu for TaiwanPlus in Przemysl, Poland.
Our reporter James Chater spoke with Rick Glart about Polish perceptions of the conflict. He began by asking what the mood was like at the border crossings.
We arrived at the border maybe almost a month after the conflict in Ukraine started. So I think the images we saw in the early days of the invasion of huge streams of people crossing the border have actually died down quite a bit. But the mood of the border crossing amongst those that were arriving was still pretty somber, and obviously people were tired, they looked a bit shell-shocked. People were carrying everything that they owned, and then suddenly they were in this big busy area where people were handing them things.
And you mentioned now that the stream of refugees is somewhat smaller than perhaps when the invasion began, but obviously these towns in Poland have seen a massive kind of surge in the number of people that have been arriving. How are residents of those towns dealing with the massive changes that they've seen over the last couple of weeks?
So we've been in Poland nearly a week now, and we've been to quite a number of towns, as far away as Warsaw, which is in the middle of the country, to quite a few towns closer to the border with Ukraine. And I have to say that there are refugees everywhere. Every town you go to will have a huge number of people arriving at stations and bus stations, because there's been a concerted effort from Poland to make sure that the refugees are spread out around the country. And at the same time, I think Polish people are aware of the sacrifices of their neighbours next door, and that they're also identify with the feelings of fear and apprehension of having a neighbour like Russia, and how quickly things could change. And how devastating it would be to have this invasion of your own country.
And from your reporting, do you think that there is a concern amongst people in Poland of the conflict spilling over into their country as well?
Absolutely. I've spoken to so many people who are feeling uneasy about the conflict next door. They know that Putin is a completely unpredictable element in this situation. And I think a lot of people didn't expect that for him to actually invade Ukraine, and now he has. They don't really see any reason why he would stop there. There's also a heightened security presence. As we drive around these areas, we see a lot more army activity. We've seen civilian airports that have missile systems around them, this sort of thing. And so I think there is a big sense of tension in these border areas, that they are now the new front line, effectively, of what has been proven to be a very bellicose neighbor, that is Russia.
Taiwanese scientists have developed a robot to clean polluted waters. Their design has been awarded by the government for its innovation. TaiwanPlus reporter Alice Chang tells us more about this new technology.
Researchers in eastern Taiwan are testing a groundbreaking prototype, a robot that removes impurities on the surface of water. It can clear from 3 to 4 kilos of trash to 40 kilos of oil, and was developed by the Port of Hualien and the National Donghua University.
透过 GPS 卫星定位的方式，透过我们的这个AIoT 的这一些技术跟能量，然后结合绿能科技。
The battery-powered innovation is similar to household cleaning machines, and with 4G and 5G signals, it can be controlled remotely.
中小型的好处就是可以补足大型的这个清洁船舶的一个缺点。好，那所以的话，我们这样的一个设计呢，会让我们整个的可以做到 portable， 很容易移动在不同的场域。
Cleaning up oil slicks is a primary job at Hualien Port. The usual method of using oil ropes pulled by ships is costly and inefficient, but authorities expect the robot prototype to change that.
自动巡航啊，还有遥控巡航这几个模式都已经算是测试成功了。那未来有机会的话，我们可能会发展一条比较大型的船，能够实施真的是代替以后人工去做清理浮油的作业。
The robot also has a backup solar energy system built in to extend its use. As scientists continue to refine their invention, hopes are high that this small machine will eventually help create a friendlier marine environment. Alice Zhen for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. I'm Erika Liu. Remember to download the TaiwanPlus app for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally today, we bring you an up-close view of the Taipei Zoo's collared anteater, Niuhu. Take care and see you next time.